Good afternoon and welcome to Cityline. I'm Karen Holmes Ward. Immigrants and their advocates fending off political attacks, from a planned immigrant registry to a lawsuit to stop the Trump administration's termination of temporary protective status for Haitians and Venezuelans, followed by a high-stakes congressional committee hearing on the defense of so-called sanctuary cities. Mayor Michelle Wu, along with mayors from 3 other cities, defending their policies of welcoming and protecting newcomers. Mayor Wu insisting that when it comes to immigration status, Boston follows state and federal laws. She defended the city's policies and used crime statistics, which show Boston is the safest major city in the nation.
The false narrative is that immigrants in general are criminals, or immigrants in general cause all sorts of danger and harm. That is actually what is undermining safety in our communities. If you wanted to make us safe, pass gun reforms, stop cutting Medicaid, stop cutting cancer research.
As the mayor pointed out, Boston is the cradle of democracy, and next month the city will celebrate 250 years of our nation's freedom. Joining us now is Elizabeth Sweet. She's the executive director of the Massachusetts Immigration and Refugee Advocacy Coalition, also known as MIRA, and Dr. Leonardo Vivas, advisor to the Venezuelan Association of Massachusetts and lecturer on comparative political economy at Lesley University. Welcome to you both. Ahead of last week's hearing, the House Oversight and Government Committee released a video. We're going to take a look at part of that right now.
To protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens.
It focused on crimes and suggesting that immigrants are responsible. The facts are not backing up the GOP narrative. Elizabeth, what's your reaction to this video, and why do you think they released it when they did?
It's such a sad but ongoing narrative that we're seeing right now from this administration, that immigrants are contributing to crime, and the statistics simply don't back this up, as you've already said. And as Mayor Wu's testimony earlier this week made so abundantly clear to all of us. It's clear that they're trying to demonize immigrants. And again, the statistics simply don't support that.
Mayor Wu was, in fact, ready with the facts. Mira was part of the support rally for Mayor Wu that occurred at City Hall while she was in D.C. What was the message that you wanted to send?
It was a wonderful day. We saw hundreds of folks turning out, first to support our mayor and to express that support for the city's policies, and to say that Boston is truly a city that welcomes and supports immigrants, that we see the value that immigrants bring to our city.
During her testimony, Mayor Wu was describing what's happening in many immigrant communities. Church pews are now half empty. People are skipping doctor appointments. People are keeping their kids home from school. Leonardo, can you describe what you've been hearing and the potential economic impact a mass deportation strategy could have?
Well, I think it's very problematic because, at least in the case I know best, is the case of Venezuelans. And we're talking here that there were 2 groups of Venezuelans that were adjudicated the temporary protected status, one in 2021 and one in 2023. And the first was around 245,000, and the second was 300 and something. So apart from that, you have also the humanitarian parole, which is given on an individual basis, and there's a number of 100 and something thousand Venezuelans. So all in all, we're talking about 700,000 Venezuelans. And the 2023, that had been postponed or continued by the Biden administration in January, and it was stopped by President Trump.
You talked about these big numbers. Having that many people leave the country could have an economic impact, correct?
No, absolutely.
What kind of impact?
Because we're talking, many of these people, at least here in Massachusetts, the ones we know best, they do a lot of work in
support in healthcare system.
Healthcare systems. You have a number
just
of
in
doctors,
Massachusetts.
nurses, because you have many of them who haven't, even doctors who haven't been able to get their
I
degrees.
think our hospital system is the largest employer of Haitians in our city.
That is correct.
Leonardo, last week 3 organizations filed a lawsuit with Lawyers for Civil Rights in an attempt to stop the administration from ending this temporary
Yes.
protective status for people from Haiti and Venezuela. So what happens if it fails?
Well, we don't know because there has been, as you know, a number of demands, and that have been, some of them very successful to stop. So in this case, we don't know exactly what can happen. But the question is that many of these people will be just, like in the cold.
Yeah, literally out in the cold. Elizabeth, last month the Department of Homeland Security froze $300,000 in funding to your organization. How does that impact your work?
So we are lucky at MIRA that we don't heavily depend on federal funds as so many other organizations do. But the reality is, for so many of us right now, the uncertainty around the funds coming from this administration are making it incredibly difficult for so many organizations to plan, for us to continue to deliver key services. It's just creating a level of chaos is not helping.
Is there a specific service that your organization might not be able to provide?
We are dedicated to continuing our services. The specific funding that was subject to a freeze was funding for our citizenship work, which we absolutely...
Citizenship application assistance.
That's
yes.
correct. So it's actually helping folks who've been here a long time with a green card to apply for citizenship. You know, these are lawful folks who are moving through and filing all the right paperwork, and the fact that even that is something that this administration is targeting is unfortunate.
Many of the news stories have interviewed Haitians who are here in the country, and they are saying that the conditions in Haiti right now are grim. They don't want to go back. They're fearful of going back. What would immigrants face if they were sent back to Haiti?
The situation has been so grim in Haiti. The level of violence and gang violence in that country is incredibly tragic. And we hear from so many Haitians that are so scared right now of what may be coming. And what is so hard to understand is, as you've already said, they're contributing. They've come here, they've followed the proper channels, they've joined our workforce, and the risk of that all being taken away just makes no sense.
Leonardo, talk to us about the political situation in Venezuela. What are the conditions there like?
Well, that's one of the reasons why so many people have come here. We're talking that Venezuela has an immigration of 8 million, which is a very high proportion of the total population. Most of them, I would say, have been staying in countries in Latin America. Approximately, 90% have stayed, in places like Colombia or Peru or Chile, and minority have come to the U.S. But the situation there are terrible. There was a huge humanitarian crisis at from 2015 to around 2018. Then COVID came and made things worse. But there's also the political. There were some attempts to bring democracy back and have free and fair elections last year. And after so many obstacles were put to the opposition was able to win the election in a landslide.
So what will happen to Venezuelans if they're forced to go back to Venezuela?
Well, it depends, because many of them left the country for economic reasons,
Yes.
because there was no way they could sustain a family there. And another proportion were people that had to leave the country because of political persecution. Look, I work as well in asylum cases, especially Venezuelans, and when you look at the case, the situations are
so
very
complex.
terrible.
It's so complex, and each situation, each country is a little different. Thank you both for being here to kind of just give us a peek at what's going on And thanks for the work you do. Elizabeth Sweet,
Thank
the
you.
Executive Director of the Massachusetts Immigration and Refugee Advocacy Coalition, and Dr. Leonardo Vivas, Advisor to the Venezuelan Association of Massachusetts. Again, thank you both for joining us.